So, a dismal attacking display from Gareth Southgate's England side, and I'm going to explain to you why I believe that Harry Kane is the major problem. We're going to analyse a few situations which I noticed in England's first two Euro 2024 games. This is a different type of video compared to what I've been doing so far for the Euros, because I'm just very, very disappointed with what I've seen over the last game that we just watched as I'm recording this video. I just don't understand how we've got all this attacking talent, all these players, and we're just unable to create attacking chances or get our players into really good positions and play to the strengths of the players that we've got. Now, I think one of the major problems is Harry Kane, and I'm going to explain to you as to why, but let's get into that right now. So, we all know how England set up, the 4-2-3-1, Harry Kane as the sole number 9, and this is where my problem starts. I've got no problem with Harry being a sole number 9. He's done it the majority of his career. And that's not the problem that I have. My problem that I have comes within this part of play. Now, when we've got the ball and Harry Kane is on the last line of defenders, what he likes to do is drop into this area or come over here and pick up the ball. Perfectly fine. No problem, Harry. You do that. But then what we don't have is Bellingham going in, Foden going in, Trippier going in, Saka going in. We don't have those runners. So him coming into these spaces then ultimately leaves us with a compact midfield here because everyone just gets stuck. And then we're just playing about and we end up getting caught out as we did by Denmark tonight. Now, this is where I think we can change things with Harry Kane, and it's utilising these spaces in behind, right? Pushing those defenders back. Now, it's something that you get taught as a young player. Well, it's something I was taught anyway. I played as a striker from under 9s to under 13s, and something I was always taught was run the channels. Always run the channels. If you unless you're playing in a 2, then one of you run the channels, one of you drop in. And I was just especially taught that further on when I was in more of a midfield sort of role. When the striker was always taught, drop in. If that one drops, can you find the other one, or can you find his feet? And that's something that I was taught as an average footballer. Harry Kane is not an average footballer, so I know he understands how to play as a striker. Now, here is where the problem comes. Harry Kane comes into this area and it opens up the pitch for these players here, right? And it opens up the pitch on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, because your defenders drop in. As you can see, they've dropped further back. Your 2 midfielders, they have to drop in to sort of hold this shape so that the opposition aren't letting us overrun them. Now, obviously, you've got the number 10 in here. He could obviously drop in and make it a bit tighter, but then that opens up more space around the back area so that you can sort of rotate the play. Now, I know that might sound a little bit intimidating to some, but Harry Kane making that run into this area or this area, it drags the defenders back, or they step up and Harry Kane ends up in an offside position. There are obviously the 2 ways that this can go. But for me, on a majority of the occasions, one of the defenders will follow, which then means you either open up more spaces or he gets the ball and he's in on goal. Now, that is my problem, because what Kane does do is this. He drops into this midfield area, which then pulls Foden back. It closes this midfield area into a triangle, and then the back 3 have nothing to do. They can push up here, and they can sort of break out this entire area, and then obviously if you put in the strikers, the wing backs and stuff, that's what they can do with that. And this is where my big problem is, because Harry Kane dropping in and us not having that forward runner then leaves us compact in midfield, and we're then essentially all in our own half. And that is where the major issue is, because when you're all in your own half, as we know, as we saw tonight, when Harry Kane picked up the ball in about this position, swung one out over here, picked up the ball, strike, goal. So this is the problem that we have. Now, I understand that was from a throw-in, but still, ultimately, Harry Kane should be the furthest man forward. Or if he's not, you've got to have a forward runner. And I just felt tonight that's something that we didn't have. So if we do look, now, this is what I mean by forward runners. So you see these channels that are marked out by these blue arrows in between the red, right? This is where you want your Foden. If Foden's coming narrow, that's where you want him to go. If Bellingham's narrow, that's where you want him to go. If Kane is making that short run, if Kane isn't making that short run, then he takes up one of these spaces, right? And that's what Kane isn't doing. It's what Bellingham isn't doing. It's what Foden isn't doing. Now, I have to give credit to Saka, because it is something that Saka has been doing. He has been getting in behind. He has been getting to the byline, coming it down, putting it across. Now, we've seen it with Saka. It's how we scored the first goal against Serbia. That's how we scored, because Saka attacked his man, put across in the box. But we didn't see enough of that tonight. And this is where my problem comes, because you've got these areas to play in, and this is what can happen. Now, obviously, on this slide, I've added in all the opposition players. But if you look, when Kane drops in, they can just keep pressing us. And this player here could ultimately go there. They could go there, push there. He could go there. And then you just sort of close up all the spaces, and your fullback can sort of push on there. And you can just close up the entire team, and you just can't get out. Now, the problem we have is because we haven't got a Marcus Rashford, we don't have an out ball on the left, and Bukayo Saka isn't an out ball. He can carry the ball really well, and he does sit quite high for England. But for me, he's not an out ball. He's not 6 foot tall. He's not going to win your aerial battles, and he's not going to come and sit over here because they can just push up anyway. Now, the difference with Rashford is because he might win a header, they have to track him, and that would bring him back. But ultimately, we don't have Rashford, so it's irrelevant. But for me, a way that we should is forward runs. I've spoke about it on countless occasions in this video. If Kane drops in, like the short arrow shows, then Foden and Bellingham have to go. It then opens up the space for Declan Rice to come into here, or even Guy to come into this space here. Trippier could come into that space and pick up the ball. You've also then got the opportunity that this guy might pull into that space and cover it, which obviously is to be expected. They're going to defend. This guy could come over, which if Rice goes, then Trent can push into that space. And for me, this just sounds like basics of football, and I don't understand why Gareth Southgate doesn't have the team doing this. Because, of course, ultimately, how Southgate hasn't got this going on, I've got absolutely no idea, because I've just moved a few things about, right? This guy, Kane, your main man through the middle, right? Just look, your 10 in that situation is dropping in here, which opens up spaces everywhere. You've got spaces everywhere. He can drop in and pick up the ball. He can move over there, pick up the ball. He can drop in and pick up the ball. You've got so many options. Saka can come in here, or he can go around there. Even Kane can go into that space there, or Trippier can go into that space there. You open up all these avenues if you just play football, and that's something that we haven't been doing. And if we just go back to the first slide, just give me 1 second. Now, this system that we play is perfectly fine. It works. We have plenty of players that can play this system. And the thing that we're really missing, in my opinion, is the number 9 that's going to run into the channels or take the width. Now, who can do that? Ollie Watkins. Now, for me, we've got maybe 3 options as an England side, right? We can either make it into a 2 and play 4-4-2 or 3-5-2. I don't really want to play 3-5-2. I'm not a fan of Lewis Dunk, right? But we could put an extra man up front, right? Take out Trent. Just ignore Trent, right? Have Bellingham and Rice as the 2. Foden on the left. Saka on the right. Everything else stays the same. But you just ignore Trent. You put Watkins up front. You drop Jude in next to Rice, right? Watkins will make them runs all day. Then you've got Jude a little bit deeper, which gives Kane the opportunity to take up the spaces that he likes to take. Then you've still got the runners. Saka can then get in behind. Jude can run beyond if he wants, because Kane's got that space to drop into then. You just got all these options, and I don't understand what Gareth Southgate isn't doing, because if you've got Watkins here, right, and Kane here, you open up so many opportunities for the squad to be able to rotate around. You can even go and play Gordon out on the left, Palmer out on the right, right? Palmer can be the one to get on the ball on the right-hand side. And then you've got Gordon on the left making those runs in behind. But the big problem we have is no left-footed left-back. And that is the major problem. Why we didn't take one and just expected that Shaw would end up being fit, I think is absolutely stupid. But for me, I just don't understand. We've got these options, right? And you can put Watkins into this space and get him doing those jobs. And that's what Kane doesn't want to do. And then the back three can just stay in a line and they don't move anywhere. But if you've got those runners, they've then got to cover the space and get back in. And that's something that we don't have. You've also then got the wing back knows that he can push on up here because Saka's never going to get beyond because we're never looking for the runners. Because we don't play like that. And it's just easy and predictable. And I think that Southgate, we can win this tournament with this squad of players that we've got. I think the problem that we've got is will Southgate let us? And I think the only way to make that happen is I think Watkins has to start next to Harry Kane, or you have to put Cole Palmer next to Harry Kane, or Anthony Gordon. You've got to put someone who's going to run in behind next to him. And that is the problem we've had. Now, if we just scroll on a little bit, if we go to this one, because even in this situation, right, with Watkins as this long man, Kane here, Jude here, Foden here, Trippier, Rice, Stones, Guy, Walker, Saka, right? So just so you know where everybody is, right? So if you do have Watkins as that man going forward, say Guy has the ball. He's got an option there, option there, option there, option there, option there, option there, right? He's got plenty of options to move the ball. If he really wanted to, he could search for the diag, which then pins back the wing back because he's got to track it. But the problem we have is we don't do that. We go into Rice, then back to Stones, to Trent, Walker, Stones, Rice, Foden, Jude, Foden, Jude, Foden, Jude, Foden, Jude, Foden, Jude, Kane, Foden, Jude, Trippier, back to Guy, Rice. And that's the type of football that we play. And for me, it isn't working. Now, if you've got Watkins in this position and Kane in this position, Guy could go straight into Kane, off to Jude Bellingham, out to Saka, down the line, cross. Now, that also gives Kane the opportunity to give and go. It gives Foden the opportunity to get into that space there because Jude doesn't have to just go out here. He can also whip the ball into that space there. It also then opens up on the left-hand side because if Foden comes in here and Kane goes in there after playing that pass, you've also then got the opportunity of Trippier coming in at the back sticks or staying wide for the potential for if it goes too far, obviously, because that happens in football. Some crosses are terrible. But it opens up all those doors. And I know it says Kane up at the top, just ignore that. And this is the problem with England. We don't have a second way of playing. It's the way we play or nothing at all. Now, I have to say, I go back to the Euros we got to the final and the World Cup. I still think that 3-5-2, 3-4-3, what we played with Sterling, Kane, Mount was some of the best football we've ever played. Don't think it was brilliant. Don't think it was amazing. Do not get me wrong. We was defensively resolute because Mount would come back and do the defensive work. And we created so many opportunities because we had three players in this area. And when Kane dropped in, Shaw bombs on. Walker bombed on. Mount bombed into the box. Sterling bombed into the box. And that is what we haven't got at the moment. We don't have that man to bomb into the box. Now, is Anthony Gordon that man? Who knows? We've not seen him much in an England shirt. Obviously, we saw him a little bit in the friendlies, and we've obviously seen what he does at Newcastle. But I think Foden doesn't offer what Gordon could offer. Because if you've got Gordon sitting out here, then it can be Trippier that comes in. Guy goes to the middle. Stones comes over here. Walker goes up. You push Saka further up the pitch, right? You keep Gordon wide. You keep, say, Kane, for instance, right? Put Jude in there. This player wouldn't exist. That would be Rice. That would be Trent, maybe. So you just sort of rotate it. It's obviously just a rotation of what we're already doing, right? But you've then got two players that would stick wide with Saka and Gordon. And you've got Kane, who at that point then will have the opportunity to get into the box. We'll have people who are willing to run beyond, because Gordon will run beyond, Saka will run beyond. The problem that we have now is Saka's having to come in and get the ball. Trippier's having to come in and get the ball. Foden comes narrow because I believe that's what he's being tasked to do, because we seem to be playing this sort of box midfield. I spoke about it in a previous video, something which Eni Aluko mentioned, and it's what we did in the game. So I have to give her a props for that. It didn't work, but it's exactly what she said. And for me, realistically, you want your box to be like this, right? You want Rice, Trent, Jude, Foden. That's what you want. You want a left footer out here to go down there, right footer here to go down there. And then these players can sort of rotate between, because they can all play all the roles, apart from probably Trent. I'm not a fan of Trent. But that's what, like, you look at City, what City do is Stones takes that role when he plays. Like, you've then got, I think, is it Guardiola who comes into the middle, or obviously Cancelo in previous years. Who else has done it? You've got Guardiola, Cancelo, Walker's done it, Rico Lewis. They've all done it. And I think Southgate is trying to move to that sort of style of football, but he doesn't know how to do it. And that's why it isn't working. Because Trent just roams the pitch, and I think is quite ineffective. Now, I think he created the most chances tonight, even after coming off. But ultimately, I can't remember any of the chances he created. The only real chance I remember is Walker running down, crossing it in, Kane putting it in. That's all I remember, really, from the game, because it was dreadful. It was a snooze fest. But I do think that England can win this tournament with the players we've got. We just need an out ball on the left, an out ball on the right, and whoever the striker is to run the channels. Just go into a channel. Just put a bit of pace behind your work. Now, if we just go back to this one, for example, right? If Kane just sprints over there, either he's going to drop or he's going to go, or they're both going to go together. And then that opens up this entire space for Jude to run into, Foden to run into. Like, football is a bloody simple game. Like, genuinely, it is so simple. Now, I understand putting it into practice is a lot more difficult than sitting, looking at a tactics board and drawing it all out, right? But all the best managers, all the best teams, all the best players can do what I'm saying. Like, I've seen, like, under 12s play this football. I've spent time at two professional clubs, Derby County and Doncaster Rovers, right? And two things that those strikers are taught is, if you come deep and you don't get the ball, run the channel. And if they're playing in a two, one of them is told, one of you come deep, so say this man, one of you go the channel. And when you see that under 12s and under 13s, under 14s can get it and do it right, why can't England do it on the big stage? Because for me, it is a really simple problem that England have. It's just the lack of runners. Add in the runners, right? This is where I think we miss Raheem Sterling, right? Now, Sterling hasn't been great for Chelsea, do not get me wrong. But in an England shirt, yes, he'd come and collect the ball. But if he didn't get it, he'd run. He'd come in again. If he didn't get it, he'd run. And he'd move defenders. And that's what he was really good at. Now, I think the problem with, obviously, not taking someone of the likes of Sterling, Rashford, is, one, we don't really have that burst of pace in this squad, because I don't think Saka is electric. Jude, Foden aren't electric. Kane is not electric. Neither's Trent. The only player in this team that's electric is Kyle Walker. Right? He's the only person in this team that's electric. And that is where the problem is. This is why we need Anthony Gordon over on this side, who's got a bit of pace about him, got a bit of oomph, and is willing to run in behind, willing to put defenders under pressure, because that is what we're not having. And I think football is a really, really simple game. Because, put it this way, right? If you have Kane here, Watkins there, right? You've got Rice and Jude there, Foden or whatever, in that position, and then Saka out here, Foden, Gordon, whoever you want on that left-hand side. I really don't care at this point. Then, like, that back three automatically has so much more to do. I just don't understand how it's so difficult for Gareth Southgate to see it. I don't understand how it's so difficult for England to see it. Now, I know I've just ranted. For probably about 20-25 minutes, and like, I just don't understand how difficult this is to see. Now, I'm about to graduate from uni doing a performance analysis. I've spent 2 years in professional environments, and I've seen academy kids do this from under nines. Really, like at under nines, you've got strikers who are trying to drop in. Now, I completely understand that a lot of the players playing under nines academy are sort of cream of the crop for their age, but Harry Kane is cream of the crop for seniors. Like, it shouldn't be difficult to be able to implement what an under nine is able to implement and what a first team player should be able to implement. And this is where my problem is. Football is such a simple game. You run, someone will follow. Someone following opens up a space. If they don't follow, then you're dragging somebody else away. And this is the problem. Kane doesn't run. He looks very lethargic. Bellingham looks lethargic. Foden looks lethargic. And Saka, like, yes, he was okay, right? But nowhere near did enough. And I think the biggest problem in this team is Harry Kane and Trent Alexander Arnold, because Trent is being pushed into a position that he can't play. Now, he came through an academy as a midfielder, completely understand that, right? But there's a reason why at first team level he was not put in midfield, he was put in at right back. And we've seen why. We've seen it in these past 2 games. We can't control a game with Trent and Rice. Could we do it with Jude and Rice? Who knows? Could we do it with Gallagher and Rice? Who knows? Now, for me, if it was my choice, I'd put Watkins, go 4-4-2, and just go fucking all-out Brexit. Now, go all-out Brexit, 2 strikers, 2 banks of 4, have 1 striker running in, 1 dropping off. We already know who it would be. But maybe then you could get some variants. If Kane is going to drop into midfield, let's push Bellingham up as like a second striker. Or, if Kane's going to drop in and make a 3, can we bring Foden more narrow? Can we get Saka more narrow? Get him involved in the game and then rotate the 3 in midfield that would occur with Kane dropping in. I don't think it's such a difficult task. I think Southgate knows what to do. I think Kane knows what to do. But it's all about doing it. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. Turn on the notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and England content coming up on the channel. So yeah, I'll catch you in my next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.